People be talking about gospel music. They be like, this is what my gospel music sounds like. Tell me what you wanna do. Oh my God. Hey, Pooskies. I got a bedroom, it is right out in the sunset in my bedroom. It feels like I'm inside a flower. I got a bedroom, it is right out in the sunset in my bedroom. It feels like I'm inside a flower. It's your girl Divinity, and I'm here with some food for the soul. I don't know if that's my intro. Gonna have to go. Hey, let me stop playing. Pooski, I just really wanted to talk today about my journey, like my spiritual journey, because it's been like weighing on my heart heavy, like when I just think about it, because I'm like, wow, like I just know someone could relate to this story. So I just wanted to talk about my journey with fasting this year and how it's shaped me into the woman that I've always wanted to be, and it's guiding me on my path, and I can't unsee it. I really wanted to talk about my journey, but I guess we could start off with just like my upbringing. Honestly, I was brought up in a very Christian home. Family's Jamaican and religious, and everyone sings. My grandma is a choir director. My mom was a part of the choir. Like, it's embedded in me. It's crazy when I think about that, because that's even where my love for music really like stems from, just like my upbringing in church and being around production and music. It's always been my love. Growing up, I went to a church that was I feel like it was a great church to be brought up in. The people that I met there, I'm still connected to this day. Like, I've made lifelong relationships. They were family. I went through even like a charm school through the church and learned just like things about being a woman and so much about my body. Just so much. I experienced so much as a young adult growing up that it shaped me into the spiritual woman of God that I've always just kind of been. And it connected me to that spirit, and it connected me to that side of like myself, you know? Let me take these off. I just took the glasses off because I felt like the glare was kind of weird. Like, you couldn't really see my eyes. My mom experienced some form of church hurt with the church we were at. I think she was trying to get more connected and more involved, and it just ended up being like a lot of drama. And I feel like a lot of people can relate to the fact that oh, they were trying to get me. He's like, stop talking. Experienced this type of church hurt, and she took us out of the church, and we started doing like Bible studies at home, and she started teaching us on her own. It kind of honestly pushed me to get connected to my word a little deeper, and I was like maybe 11, 10. So I was in those formative years where like I was kind of, forming my own relationships with things and growing in things and more cautious. So around that time, I started getting more like, close to my word, into my spirituality, because I didn't have the church influence on me anymore. So it was at that point like, okay, what do I believe? Like, what do I think about all of this, After that, bringing back to when I was kind of thinking, okay, so what do I think about all of this? What is my brain telling me, I started dabbling in other spiritual practices. So I started researching like Buddhism, Hinduism. I was just researching and like trying to find the sense of all of it, because I was honestly super curious. I just love to research. I'm a person who loves to research and read things and listen to spiritual things and like encounters. Like, I love connecting with things. So I really started researching like all these other spiritual practices and just kind of like figuring out like, what do I believe? What do I like? Who's God to me? Like, and once you start going down that path of like researching other religions, you start to find like there's like a common factor in everything, where it's kind of all the same story, but like in different ways and with different kind of intentions and different meanings. I don't know how to really like put that in a bow, but that's really like the best way I could describe it. Started researching, and I remember, it's so funny because I remember vividly, I started meditating. I started getting super like into frequencies and archangels, Archangel Michael and Gabriel, and like that whole world of like, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's like that branch of like spirituality where it's kind of like it's witchy. It's a part of the witch pagan world.
Did you not ask if she believed in God? She's not a Christian!
I guess you can kind of say that. So I started doing like Reiki and like just connecting to those energies. And I remember vividly my mom was like, what are you doing? Because she came in my room and I was just like in the dark, and I had like, looking back, it's actually funny because she was so worried. She was like, yo, what are you doing? Like, what are you researching? Like, are you okay?
Deeper than the depths of the abyss.
She's tampering in dark-sided stuff!
I call upon the power.
And I was just like, yeah, I'm good. I'm just meditating. Like, I'm just trying to get deeper to myself. And honestly, that whole experience it connected me to something, but I can't really tell you what it connected me to. I think it just connected me to myself, and it made my ego like really big. Like, I felt like I'm God. I am powerful. Like, I have the power to heal. And it's like, where do you feel like you're getting these powers from? That's another conversation. So I went down that whole rabbit hole of just like spirituality that had no real name. Like, I've never called myself a witch. I've never called myself anything. I spent like maybe 2 years, and mind you, throughout this whole time I was coming back to God and coming back to Jesus, but like I would come back and then kind of like dip my toe in, and it was just kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, you still there, Jesus, we good. Like, I'll be back. You know, like, let me go meditate. Like, I don't gotta pray to you, we good. Like, I'm good. Like, I got power. And just so dumb. Just so dumb. Like, when I look back, I'm like, girl, what were you doing? So that kind of just led me down another rabbit hole of trying to find peace in like African spirituality, because the thing about African spirituality is I saw myself in it. And the Ifa religion honestly was so interesting to me because I felt like it was calling to me at a point. Like, I felt like I was really researching and trying to get initiated. I wanted to become a priestess, or like I just wanted to become more involved in those communities, but it just was not happening for me. Like, I was researching, I was reading, I was connecting to deities. I'm like, oh my God, Oshun, I'm her daughter. Yemoha, that's me. Like, and it's like, I saw myself in those women. Like, I saw myself in those godly figures. So it made me feel very seen and very heard and very like, oh my God, like, Oshun, like, that's me. Like, I feel like I'm her daughter. Like, it makes sense. Like, you know, like, I felt so seen in that religion that it just attracted me. And it was like, I want to know more. I want to get deeper into it. But I can honestly say, like, I guess God just never wanted me to get too deep into it, because I could never connect to anybody. I never manifested someone in my life that was into it, or like someone that never a thing that like aligned for me. Like, I didn't get closer as much as I wanted to. I didn't get closer. I didn't get into it as much as I wanted to. I kind of spent like, I probably could say after I kind of distanced myself from even that religion, I was like in this limbo of like, okay, I don't feel super seen by Jesus right now. I don't feel like he's hearing me. And with Ifa, it's not making me feel grounded. Like, I feel like I felt like I was going through a middleman. Like, I wasn't getting to the real source of God. I was just kind of like contacting like Oshun to like tell God. Like, it felt like I was putting too much power in other deities. And I was never a person who put a lot of emphasis on like crystals and like stuff like that, but I do have tarot cards, and I used to do readings with my friends all the time just for fun. And honestly, that shit was true. Like,
Astrology.
Mom, I believe you.
Tarot card readings.
She didn't bring it up with
And
us.
if everybody would look back at everything I've been saying and preaching and praying and saying, I've been saying I am a spiritual warrior because I feel like I'm a spiritual warrior.
Like, it was very truthful. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, like, and say, like, it's just, you'll get some confirmation, but the confirmation is not gonna be any real. I feel like that confirmation does not give you any real, like, hope, or does it make me feel grounded. Like, felt very, like, I think I love the spiritualness of tarot cards. I love the thought of, like, cards telling me, like, the future, or like how a situation is going to play out. Like, I enjoy that spiritual aspect of it, but I feel like it's kind of the same thing as, like, reading the Bible. And, like, you kind of find answers in the Bible, you know? And back to what I was saying, I was in this limbo of just feeling like, okay, like, I'm not feeling super hurt by Jesus. Ephod is not connecting with me. I feel connected to these deities, but, like, I don't know. I was just getting, like, wary of opening myself up to that world, because, again, like, it just felt like I was contacting a middleman. So, and even just with my ancestors, like, I feed my ancestors, I love my ancestors, and I will always honor my ancestors. I will always pray for them, and I will always ask them for guidance, because they came before me. And I feel like
I want no money. I want nothing. I want my God and I want my family.
the beautifulness about, like, ancestry is that they came before me. We share generational traumas. Like, we share passions, we share traditions and customs. Like, my ancestors are always gonna look out for me. But you know who's looking out for all of us? Jesus. That's who's looking out. Jesus is looking out for all of us. It really was just like, okay, I was in that limbo for a few months. During, like, COVID and stuff, I started going to Transformation Church, like, listening to, like, Mike Todd, and, like, joining, like, the live services, not even more so listening to sermons. Like, I was in church with them, okay? And I started really missing church. Like, that Holy Spirit filled up my room, okay? But I still felt so... I saw a TikTok today, and somebody called it a lukewarm Christian, and that is, like, the perfect way to describe it. Like, I'm not in the heat of Jesus. I am just, like, kind of warm. Like, I'm in, but I'm out. Like, I dip my toe in, and as soon as it gets kind of warm, I kind of, like, take it off to dry it off, and it's kind of like, I'll be back, you know? It's kind of that feeling with it. And through that, it kind of didn't feel that space in me that really craved that community and praise and worship and listening to my pastor. And honestly, like, I haven't been back to church as an adult for real. Like, I would go with my homegirls every once in a while, but we never, like, kept going. So I just wanted to form my own relationship with God and my pastor and my church, like, as an adult and as a young woman, you know? So, like, last year, towards the end of last year, I was going through a lot of spiritual warfare. Like, the enemy was trying to keep me down. Like, when I look back at that, I'm just in shock that you start to believe those lies that the enemy tells you, because it's believable in the moment, but when you really do think about it, like, if you kept me in that space, I would never be in the space I was today. Like, if I stayed in that space of believing those lies that the enemy was trying to push into my mind, I would not be where I am today. In just the peace that I feel, I wouldn't have it. So last year, I just got to a point where I was just so down and out that I was like, okay, something has to give, right? So something happened. I went to Jamaica for my birthday, and I had a moment with God that changed the trajectory of the last quarter of my year. So my birthday's in July. So I was working a job that was paying me very well. I was making good money, but I was miserable because I was one of 3 employees and I was being worked to the bone. And the beginning of the year, when I got hired, he hired me. He kind of made it a thing where he was like, you're not going back to school, right? Because he was basically telling me, like, we're not going to be working with your school schedule, you know? And I was like, no. But at that time, I was thinking about going back, but I still wasn't sure about, like, just what I just was still in denial. And I was like, no, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, I think I do want to go back to school, but he don't got to know that. So I got hired. I didn't have a car at that time. So, ooh, this is a testimony. Jesus. I didn't even notice how much my life has changed until I started. It's just crazy. At that time, I did not have a car. I don't want to cry. It's just, like, it's just crazy because, like, even when you're not consciously devoted to your faith, like, God is still in the background, like, working things out. And honestly, it's just crazy. I saved up. I was Ubering, stressed out, taking 2-hour bus rides, like, trying to get to work, trying to stack up. Like, it was like a rough time in my life. And I finally got my car, thank God, through my job. I was getting paid well enough to where I was able to save and save and save, like, quickly. So around my birthday in July, it was heavy on my heart to quit. And the job itself, it wasn't the job itself. It was just kind of like, number one, my manager was sexist and he was super disrespectful. So, like, it was hard to even be, like, serving him because it just felt very like, you're not even a good person. But I was just drained physically and emotionally. But I told myself, I'm going on a trip. I went for 7 days. So I said, when I come back, I'm just going to come back with a renewed heart. And we're just going to, like, keep pushing through. I just had a lot of fear surrounded by me quitting. And I was just terrified to quit. I was just kind of like, should I not? Like, what do I want to do? Like, let me find another job first. Like, whoa. And it just became, like, to the point where I was like, okay, like, I was just fearful. I was so in fear. So my whole life, okay, a little backstory. When my mom was pregnant, I became, like, obsessed with her. I became obsessed with everything about her labor, the baby growing inside of her, that pregnancy journey, like, just being a part of it. It, like, changed something in my brain. I've always been obsessed with people's babies. Like, I've always been the little girl that was holding people's babies at parties, and people were like, whoa, like, she's holding the baby, like, watch her. And my mom was like, no, she good, like, she a mama. Like, I was really somebody's mom as a kid. I still am. I was just super obsessed with, like, everything about childbirth, and I was like, oh my God, I want to be a labor and delivery nurse. And it kind of went from, like, OBGYN to, like, labor and delivery nurse, and then it went to, like, doula, because I'm like, okay, doula, like, I could be a doula real quick, easy. I met some doulas. I'm like, okay, cool. At that point, it just saved me money to, like, do my training. But as I was, like, thinking about my training, I started thinking, like, I spent a lot of years, like, fighting. Honestly, just didn't feel good enough to go to nursing school at first.
Bitch, you think it's small. We need to be thinking big.
Just kind of fighting that calling on my life because I'm like, no, I want to go to fashion school, Dad.
Dad, you can't do this. I want to go to fashion school. I'm not your little girl anymore.
Like, I literally went to fashion school and I was like, this is not for me. Like, the jokes write themselves. I just had this whole vision for my life and God just kept telling me, no, this is what you're doing. And I just kept being like, no, I'm not doing that. And it was like, the more I fought it, the more it was, like, painful. Like, it was like life was becoming, like, painful. Like, I'm like, I'm not happy. Like, these things aren't fulfilling me like I thought they would. Like, the devil, it was almost like God said, here, have it. Come back to me when you're done. And, like, that's exactly how I felt. Like, he gave me opportunities. He put me in rooms, put me in spaces. And once I got there, I was like, I don't like it, God, save me. And he's like, I told you. So I started thinking about going back to school in the beginning of this last year because I was like, okay, like, even during COVID, I wanted to go back to school, but it just felt chaotic. I felt like everybody was gonna die. I was just, like, in a very cynical, like, space. Like, I wish I would have went back then, but I was just like, I don't even know what the world's going on right now. Like, let me just smoke this joint and, like, forget about everything. See, I created a lot of love and I created a lot of creative things during COVID that, like, propelled me in my creative career, but that's another story for another day. Okay, yeah. So fast forward, I'm in Jamaica and we're on a bus ride going to an excursion in another side of town. So the ride was like 3 hours. God told me, I'm looking out the window. It was super, like, when I think about it, it was just so of God for him to do this. And I'm looking out the window and it's like just after sunset. So it's kind of dark, but I can still see, right? And God tells me, you're gonna come back here and you're gonna deliver babies. And I'm like, and mind you, the voice was so clear that I was like, I kind of looked around like, huh? Who said that? Like, who said that? Because it was so loud and so clear. And the minute he said that to me, I was so convicted in my spirit that I knew it was just something that I had to do. Like, I'm like, oh my God, like, I gotta stop playing. I gotta stop running from my calling, and I need to like get in a position to where I can come back to my community and wasn't born in Jamaica, but come back to my home country and help the women around me. Like, I just want to serve my community in that way, you know? So I was just so convicted in my spirit. It was just so hard to like shake. It was something that I couldn't even like ignore. Like, the minute I heard that, I was like, bet. Like, ain't no cap in my rap. Like, so this is crazy. But as I'm thinking about it, I'm still in the back of my mind, like, I have this job that I don't like, that I don't want to be at, but I need money. If I go back to school, they're probably gonna fire me. So like, it was just a lot of like back and forth, right, in my head about it. So I'm like, okay, God, I hear you, but I don't know how I'm gonna make this work, but we'll see. Like, we'll see. I don't know. So I get back home, and I was supposed to go back to work the next day. And I get back home, I'm chilling, vibing, and as I'm about to get ready for work, something in my spirit says, check your email. And I'm like, what? Like, what is it? I go get in the shower, ignored it, start getting ready, doop-a-doop-a-doo, doop-doop. And something says, check your email. And I'm like, what is in this email? Like, I don't want to check it. So I go and I check my email. Ow, I was sitting on my ankle, it hurt. I scroll, I don't see nothing. What is, like, why? See, I told you, God, like, you tripping. Scroll again, nothing here. Scroll some more, and then I see employment termination. I said, ooh, ooh. Like, literally, like, ooh. And mind you, I've been working at this place almost a year at that point. I called out once, and that was because I sprained my ankle. Like, I was like loyal to this place. Like, I was showing up. Like, probably my only flaw at that job was I would come late sometimes. Like, I would come late. I feel like it's a normal thing, honestly. Like, it was never anything that bad. Like, I made the most money. I was top sales for a long time. I was doing a lot of stuff that wasn't necessary. Like, I was just loyal to that job, and they sent me the most cryptic termination email. And I was like, number one, this is how you do it? Like, okay, interesting. I had been like venting to everybody about wanting to quit for so long that when I told them, they were like, damn, but like, I'm happy for you. Because it's like, you're free. I got fired probably like, I don't remember what day, maybe let's just say Thursday. I was enrolled in my classes and back in school by the next Thursday. I applied to FAST for like 2 days later. I didn't play no games. I said, God, you're making room for me, and I'm going to follow what you want me to do. And I'm gonna surrender, and I'm signing up, I'm here. The way everything was so smooth, my FAFSA got approved very quickly, and I was in my classes in a week. Like, it was crazy. Like, there was no hiccup, no issues, nothing. It was supposed to happen, you know? Towards the end of last year, I told myself, like, you know, coming into this new year, I really want to refine me. I really want to step more into my power, into my purpose. I've just reached a point where I'm like, okay, like, there's a woman that I want to be that I'm not living up to her. And it's like starting to annoy me. Like, I'm starting to feel very lost and very like looking around at things around me. And I'm like, this doesn't fulfill me. Like, my mindset was changing, but I wasn't sure what to do from there, you know? So coming to the new year, I went to a new church. I kept saying to everybody, I'm like, I want to bring in the new year at church. I want to bring in the New Year's at church. And everybody was like, okay. New Year's Day, I was at church. I did not play. I was there by myself, getting that word. So a lot of churches do like Daniel's fasting in the beginning of their year, and I was convicted to join. Of course, fasting, you kind of can do what you feel is God is telling you to fast from, because there's so many things you could fast from. It's kind of just whatever you're called to do type of thing, you know? God told me to do a 3 days of no water and no food fast. In my head, I'm thinking, oh, this is gonna be easy. Like, I'm good. Like, I go days without eating anyways. Like, you know? Boy, was I wrong. I'm almost tempted to think if I should make a whole different video about this. But I've done like the Daniel's fast with my mom growing up and stuff like that, and I fasted, but I've never like genuinely fasted and like read my Bible and like was in my word and was praying. Like, I've never like genuinely fasted. Like, I fasted for like health reasons and not for like spiritual reasons before as a woman. It's just so funny to think about, because it was a crazy experience. So if you guys want me to like go super in depth about it, just let me know in the comments, because I'll go super in depth about it. But like, I'm gonna kind of skim the surface here. First day, good. Like, first day, all good. Like, I'm good. I'm hungry, but I'm good, you know? That second day, I was like, whew. I told myself, okay, like, we can do some water, because this no food, no water is a little intense. I didn't expect it to be that intense. Like, I know it sounds kind of crazy, like, you're not drinking or eating, like, duh, but I just didn't expect it to be that intense that quick. So by the second day, I said, okay, I'm gonna drink some water. Like, you're good. So that day I drank water, and the minute I drank that water, I was throwing up. I was so much. It felt like somebody took my intestines and was like wringing it out. It was like my stomach didn't necessarily hurt or anything, but I was just like in this state of like, bleh. Like, my mom was like, the spirits is coming out, because it was giving that. Like, I was in my word. Like, when you're fasting, you're so hungry and you're at a place of such vulnerability that you can't do nothing but pray. Like, you can't do nothing but that. So I was in this space of just pure surrender to God. Mind you, this was one of my intentions doing the fast in the first place. World just looked different. Like, people didn't look the same. It was like the veil had been like lifted, and I could not unsee what I was seeing, you know? Realizing so much about like the woman I want to be, and the family I want to have, and the things that I want to inspire people with. And God just put new messages and a new meaning to what I even wanted to do, like, especially with my content and my brand, my wellness brand that I really want to start. I made the name for my wellness brand maybe like 2-3 years ago. It came to me. It just came to me, okay? In the midst of my fast, I found the name of my brand in scripture. I found my mission statement in the Bible. I could not have ever imagined the things that were revealed to me in that time. Like, I was in a state of like, I'm just grateful for my journey. If you made it to the end of this video, I really love you. And I just want to say, like, if you're feeling a little lost on your spiritual journey, I would very much recommend you to look into fasting. So it's getting dark, so I'm gonna end the video like very soon. Habits, my thoughts, the way I process through life has been shifted, but it only shifted because I surrendered everything to God. Like, I genuinely left everything with him. I don't want anything on my back no more. Here you go, Jesus. All that confusion is just, it's out the window. So I love you guys, and if you guys have any questions, please comment and ask me questions. And I want to, you know, talk, and I want to connect about this. And if you have any like stories about your transition from putting your energy into so many other things and not trusting God, let's talk about that. But yeah, babe, so I love you. If you did listen to the whole thing, that you received something from it and it inspired you in some way, because honestly, I just felt inspired by my own story. I just told it like, wait, I've never looked at it this way. I've never even realized that this would be a testimony or anything in itself. Like, I love you, Pooski. Hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you subscribe and comment below and let me know your thoughts. Love you, Pooskies.